everyone, I'm Kylie, your local science nerd, and I'm here to talk about COVID. We all know that 2020 was not fun, and it definitely wasn't in the Philippines. From the eruption of the Taal volcano in Batangas to the earthquakes in Masbate, Bicol, multiple cyclones and typhoons around the country, we've been through a lot, to say the least. And now this darn pandemic. I'm sure that you all know what COVID-19 is by now, unless you live under a rock, or are a rock. That was a Dr. Stone reference. If you didn't get it, I'm sorry. But just in case you're still not sure what we're dealing with, I'm going to give a quick rundown of how this virus works. COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a virus, primarily spread through saliva droplets or discharge from the nose of an infected person. Emphasis on virus, okay? Not a bacteria, as much as internet trolls would have you believe. Many people who are infected with the virus usually experience mild to moderate symptoms and can typically get better without any special treatment. There are some people who don't even experience any symptoms, and we call this being asymptomatic. But for the elderly and those that are immunocompromised or have asthma, like me, infection could cost them much more than just a high hospital bill. Flu-like might be too broad a description to describe COVID symptoms because it doesn't really act like the common cold and just kinda like the flu. The most common symptoms for COVID are fever, dry cough, and tiredness. For less common, we have aches and body pains, sore throat, diarrhea, conjunctivitis, which is another fancy name for eye redness, headaches, loss of taste and or smell, a rash on skin, or discoloration of fingers or toes. And the more serious symptoms of COVID include difficulty of breathing or shortness of breath. Symptoms can vary since we are all biologically different, but an easy way to kind of differentiate COVID symptoms from the flu or a common cold is like COVID brings more coughing, less often the runny nose and sneezing. Though, if you do have the runny nose and sneezing, don't tell yourself that you for sure don't have COVID. That's not how it works. Please still get tested. That being said, if you are experiencing any of the symptoms we listed, even the runny nose, please self-isolate, and if you can afford to, get tested, because, you know, that don't come free in this country. But if you do want to get tested without leaving your home, and you know, since ECQ just kind of comes and goes year-round in this country, Lab at Home PH offers home service testing if you are located in the Metro Manila area, and we will be providing the link for that in the description below as well. So, those are the things about COVID-19 that we should all know already. But there's still a lot of fake news circulating around the interweb. Maybe you've seen them, maybe you haven't. Anyway, I'm gonna debunk some of them for you right now, so that the next time your tita sends a post or a sketchy video about them in your family group chat, you'll know exactly how to debunk those. Say no, tita. You're wrong. Myth number 1. Vitamins and minerals can cure COVID-19. No, they can't. There are studies that show that let me check my notes, D and C, as well as the mineral zinc, can help boost your immune system to prevent the spread of the infection throughout your body, but that's not really the same as curing your body from the virus. So don't expect to take some vitamins and then just be magically cured. There is no evidence that vitamins can cure COVID-19. Myth number 2. COVID-19 is bacteria, not a virus. No! It's been over a year. By now, scientists know what COVID looks like. Viruses are like extremely tiny, and bacteria compared to viruses are much larger, so the differences just structurally would be pretty clear. Also, bacteria are living organisms. That means they have cells. or are unicellular. Viruses do not have cells, so they are technically not alive. You can clearly see that as well by observing their structure. Plus, COVID-19 does not even behave like a bacterial infection. Bacterial infections are typically localized, which means they are like contained within an area. COVID, on the other hand, like other viral infections, are more spread out throughout the body, which is, how COVID behaves. So, for the love of all that is good, do not take antibiotics to cure your COVID. Honestly, I don't even know why we can just get those over the counter, I think. Antibiotics are for bacteria, not viruses. The key word here is bio. Bio means life, and as we've discussed earlier, bacteria are living, viruses technically not. So, antibiotics is technically like anti-life. So, why would you take the anti-life pill to fight something that does not have a life? And if you are unaware of how harmful taking unprescribed antibiotics can be, please Google antibiotic resistance. We will drop links in the description below if you want to learn more about them. Antibiotic resistance has been plaguing the healthcare and pharmaceutical world for decades now, so it's not new. You really gotta read up on it. Myth number 3. Drinking warm water will rinse COVID-19 from your throat. No. While drinking water is good for you, we literally need it to survive, there is no scientific evidence that it will rinse the virus away from your throat. What it will do, however, is help soothe your throat and keep you well hydrated. So while it won't cure COVID, it can help alleviate your symptoms. Myth number 4. 2 plus 2, 4. I've had COVID-19 before, so now I'm immune. Scientists have studied similar viruses like SARS, COVID-19's cousin, and have determined that you can get infected more than once. So that means just because you've had it once doesn't mean you can't get it again, or it'll be less severe than last time. There's still not enough research in that area, and they literally said you could still get it again. So please still follow safety protocols, listen to your doctor, wear your masks, stay at home, and yes, you still do need the vaccine even though you've already had COVID-19 before. More on vaccines in the next video. Hint, hint. Myth number 5. Herd immunity will slow down the spread of COVID-19, so I don't need to get vaccinated. What did I just say earlier? You still need to get vaccinated. But let's talk about first, what is herd immunity anyway? Herd immunity happens naturally when enough members of a population get infected with the disease, so they kind of develop an immunity for it. But that's not really sustainable or good at all, because that would require most of the population to get sick, and our economy and hospitals are strained enough as it is, so that's not really a viable solution here. So we have to really listen to the experts in this. The WHO themselves are recommending that everybody get vaccinated, and that will be the better way, the only real viable way we can achieve herd immunity. Not really the whole, let's just wait for everybody to get infected and then we'll be immune. People will die, just to be blunt, if we go with that route. Anyway, more on herd immunity and vaccines in the next video. So, these are just some of the common myths that our team have heard. Note, we are a team of 3, and these are the only stuff that 3 people have gathered. So we're sure that there are lots of other myths circulating around the interweb, around the family group chats. So if you know of any myths or rumors about COVID that we haven't addressed yet, please drop them in the comment section below, and we will try to address them in another video. But now that we have debunked some of the myths and have done a recap of the past year, let's move on to the most pressing news that is on everybody's minds lately and much more relevant to our times finally: vaccination. And I hope the words are flowing again, because then I would just look really awkward with my hands like this. The Philippines has begun rolling out vaccines already, so it is our responsibility to stay informed about our healthcare choices and how to protect ourselves as well as our loved ones. So that's all I have for you today. This is our first video, don't really have a proper outro, but thanks for joining us today. Hope you learned something new. Hope you had some myths debunked. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. See you in episode 2. I hope the internet finds this quirky. But really, I'm just awkward.